Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Facing the New Normal from Process to Technology. Our goal is to provide you with beneficial insights that will help you get the most out of your enterprise technology investments. Before we get started, let me review a few of our guidelines for the session. Attendee phones will be muted for the duration of the presentation. Please feel free to send me a chat if you run into any technical difficulties during the event. We encourage everyone to submit questions at any time using the Q&A feature. We will address your questions during the Q&A segment at the conclusion of the discussion. You can access both the chat and Q&A features of Zoom by hovering your cursor over the bottom center of your webinar screen and clicking on the associated icon. Today's session will run for 30 minutes and conclude at 1:30 p.m. Central Time. Our agenda includes a brief introduction to today's panel, and then we'll quickly move on to the main event, a thoughtful discussion with insight for manufacturing teams on navigating the new normal while enabling future success. Then we'll share some additional resources before moving on to Q&A during the last 5 to 10 minutes of the session. I'd like to take a brief moment to let you know that Ultra Consultants is serving as your host today and tell you a little bit about who we are. Since 1994, manufacturers and distributors throughout North America, as well as companies with global operations, have teamed with Ultra as trusted advisors and industry best practice experts to guide them through their business process improvement and enterprise technology transformation journeys. As independent ERP consultants, our team is part of our client's organization, working shoulder to shoulder with ERP project teams throughout the country. Being a vendor independent consulting firm means two main things. First, we are your partner for guiding you in your vendor education and selection. And that's where we help you get to know in depth the enterprise software vendors and implementation practices that are best for your company and your unique project needs. Second, we are also your partner for helping you discover how to make improvements throughout your organization using your chosen technologies. Please feel free to reach out to me if you'd like to learn more about Ultra or visit us at ultraconsultants.com. We have a special guest joining from today's panel from SYSPRO. SYSPRO is a global independent provider of industry-built ERP software designed to simplify business complexity for manufacturers and distributors. SYSPRO focuses on delivering optimized performance and complete business visibility that is highly scalable and can be deployed on-premise, in the cloud, or accessed via mobile. SYSPRO's strengths lie in a simplified approach to technology and a commitment to future-proofing customer and partner success. This is Kristen Renda, Marketing Program Manager at Ultra and your moderator for today's webinar. I'd like to welcome Dave Lechleitner, Director of Industry Marketing with Ultra Consultants. Dave is a longtime industry consultant with more than 25 years of experience helping mid-market manufacturing companies leverage technology to optimize processes, increase efficiency, maximize throughput, and boost productivity. I'd also like to welcome our special guest expert, Don Gorey, ERP Product Manager with SYSPRO USA. For the past 25 years, Dawn has dedicated herself to the SYSPRO product. Starting as a support analyst, Dawn has been an integral part of each of the services departments throughout the years and is now ERP Product Manager for the US region. Thank you both for joining us today. And now we will move on to the main event, Facing the New Normal from Process to Technology. I'll be asking today's panel a series of questions with a focus on helping forward-looking organizations navigate the current global challenges and implement strategies that will enable future success. All right, so to get us started, as we've learned over the last year, the new normal continues to evolve, which poses a challenge for many manufacturers as they look ahead to the future. Dave, this one's for you. Can you provide insight on what potential challenges organizations could face as we move into the second half of 2021?
Yeah, great question, Kristen. And before I jump right in and answer that question, I just want to again extend our thanks and welcome to SYSPRO for joining us today. You've been a great partner, not only in this webinar, but in all the work that we've collaborated on together. I think as we look at maybe instead of just jumping right ahead and looking ahead, at how the pandemic will affect the future, let's kind of maybe take a step back. I think that the outcome of the pandemic really illustrated a couple of really core things. Number one, it obviously put a tremendous strain on global supply chains. So the more complex that your supply chain, likely the more that you were affected by the pandemic. The other thing that I think it really highlighted was the fact that many organizations really probably have very inefficient business process. And it's not often that manufacturers and distributors often focus on, kind of their internal core business processes. But I think what the pandemic really illustrated is that those organizations that had gaps or let's say opportunities for improvement as it related to business process, really those were the businesses that were challenged, right? Versus those companies that had really optimized and maximized their processes. The other thing that I think it really highlighted as well was the impact that legacy business systems, be it ERP, CRM, PLM, whatever business system that the client might have in place or that the manufacturer or distributor has in place, it really illustrated that if those, again, were legacy systems, maybe outdated, again, those were businesses, again, at the end of the day, that were really, really challenged. So I think going forward, manufacturers and distributors are really focused again on a couple of things. How can they optimize their business process? How can they ensure that their people, their technology, their business processes really are all aligned and ensure flexibility, agility, and just greater performance? So I think that is really key. Again, I think it's going to drive many, many organizations to also look at their technology stack. As I mentioned, the pandemic really sort of exposed some of the shortcomings of some of the legacy systems or maybe disparate solutions that they may have had in place. And so I think going forward, businesses are going to be keenly aware of the importance of technology and especially technology as a competitive differentiator. So again, from my standpoint, those are a couple of things that I have seen. I guess, Dawn, from an ERP perspective, from one of our partner perspectives, what are you folks seeing?
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. And thanks for inviting us to be on your panel. It's a great honor to be working with you on this. But with that, I totally agree with what you're saying. Businesses were virtually making do with what they had, all the while navigating through all the disruptions they were having within their supply chain. Customers, they were just doing whatever they could do to keep their doors open. Now, what I see is, coming out of this pandemic, the businesses are looking to act on what they've learned over the last 13 months. They understand that they need to look at the way of running business to become more agile and more efficient. And they are ready to invest in what is going to keep them or help them achieve their goals, from, changing their business processes, automating their shop floor, all the way to buying a new, or implementing a new ERP system that is going to look at all of those disparate systems and try and put it in under one umbrella. So I completely agree with you, and I think it's an exciting time for the businesses and manufacturers out there, because there's so much that the software world has to offer them.
Yeah, one of the other things, Dawn, as you kind of talked through that came to mind as well. The pandemic really caused a lot of, again, manufacturers and distributors really to look at kind of some fundamental things like their core business model. And at least I saw quite a number of customers having to kind of flip their business model. Just in terms of meeting customer demand, right? Especially in the food and beverage, industry, for example, and even to some extent, even in metal fab. So this change in business model too probably has driven some initiatives and maybe even evaluation cycles from your side as well, with these customers having to look at new business systems to sort of meet this new business model. Would you agree as well?
Absolutely. I mean, we've had customers that have dramatically had to virtually overnight ramp up just to meet the requirements of this new what we were dealing with. That new normal of everybody being home. Food and bev, perfect example. I mean, there have been industries that have thrived during this time because people were at home. They were looking at, remodeling. So the construction industry has just gone ridiculous. It's made ridiculous strides that they would never have known before. So I do agree with you. They have had to change business processes, whether that is to ramp up or kind of cut back. Whatever it is to make them that more efficient and to be able to supply their customers and take care of their employees, businesses have done. And they're now looking to see how we can take that a step further.
All right, thank you both. Our next question. All right. So, in Ultra's work as independent consultants, we've spoken with a good deal of manufacturers that are currently operating on disparate technology or even legacy systems. While some have taken the pandemic as a call to action to improve their enterprise systems, others have been reluctant to make any investments. Dawn, can you talk about what's new in the world of ERP and which tech investments would be beneficial as the US transitions to this next phase of the pandemic?
Oh, Kristen, that's a great question. Businesses are obviously looking at what they can do. They have had to go from a lot of this is stemming from the need to go from a 25% remote workforce to 100% overnight. They highlighted the need for businesses to access systems and people easily and effectively to get the tools that they had in place. So even prior to the shutdowns, though, ERP providers have been making tremendous strides to put their systems in the cloud, to be able to have the web-enabled interfaces, utilizing whatever platform they preferred, developing amazing tools to allow their employees or their supply chain partners, whether they be suppliers, customers, etc., to have a self-service portal. So there's a lot of those kinds of things that are in there. ERP providers are constantly developing connectors or interfaces to take advantage of all the technological advances to automate the shop floor, whether that be a robust shop floor data collection system or an MES system or whatever else they would need. The need out there is tremendous, and people have looked at that, and there's a huge spend that's coming down very quickly for ERP, smart manufacturing, cloud, etc. Dave, what are you seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely again agree with you. And your commentary about the workforce, right, going 100% virtual. I actually saw that in a number of our clients.
Mhm.
What has been really interesting to me is I think the pandemic has really sped up the whole concept of smart manufacturing. For many, many years, it was kind of out there as a kind of esoteric theory, people not really understanding what smart technology and smart manufacturing was all about. Manufacturers tend to be very conservative, so the cloud was almost like a bad word. You just didn't bring it up with manufacturers because of the concern over security and whatnot. But again, I think, the fact that the pandemic caused such a disruption with many of our manufacturers has really sped up the adoption of some of these tools. I can give you an example. We started working with a client really at the beginning almost of the pandemic last year. And one would have thought, right, that most of our clients looking at making these rather large investments, right, in ERP solutions or whatever the case may be, just from a technology as well as the kind of people disruption and change that typically occurs, you would just kind of think that during something like the pandemic that we experienced, it would just sort of shut down. We actually saw the opposite. We saw many of our clients actually speeding up the engagements that they had with us to get to that point where they would select and implement the new technology. So again, I think it goes back to what I said in response to the first question. The pandemic really exposed the holes, right, in some of these legacy systems. And again, I would just very much agree. Smart technologies, shop floor data collection, MES, cloud, all of those things are going to be important going forward.
I totally agree. And Dave, I was reading an article the other day on this survey that was done. And prior to COVID and our shutdown, only 15% of businesses were looking to invest in smart manufacturing. In less than a year, businesses have jumped 36% are now looking to invest in smart manufacturing, including RFID, robotics, Industry 4.0, predictive analytics. It is expected to have $220 billion spend by 2025. It's amazing.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
What a single year has done to just just ridiculous amount of change in understanding that smart manufacturing is our future.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So my next question is definitely related to what we just talked about. The question on the screen you see is, how can smart tech benefit mid-market manufacturers? And I think that you did answer that, but I think, Dave, can you go into a little bit more detail about current capabilities, benefits, and maybe share some real world examples with us?
Yeah, absolutely. The whole concept and the term smart manufacturing, in my opinion, probably has not been really distilled and defined well for the mid-market, right? As I look at kind of the beginnings of smart manufacturing, probably 10 years ago, I don't think it was clearly defined. Like, what is it that we're actually talking about? But it's become clearer and clearer over especially the last few years. So, you know, again, from a benefit standpoint, it's all about being more efficient, right? We should never implement technology just because it's the latest and greatest. It has to have some sort of business advantage. And that's really where we see, you know, the biggest benefit of smart technology, things like embedded sensors, things like you know, the Internet of Things, where we're going to be able to collect data from anywhere, anytime, on any device. Artificial intelligence definitely coming into its own, machine learning, another aspect of that, robotics, as Dawn previously mentioned. You know, the big benefit that we see is just greater efficiency, right? And that's what I would basically articulate to the folks that are listening to this presentation. You should never implement technology just because it's new, and it's the latest and greatest thing. Ultimately, you have to justify it, and we'll have an asset that we'll make available at the end of the webinar that will help clients do that, right? That will help manufacturers and distributors do that. But at the end of the day, you know, we're not talking like a dollar for dollar improvement when you implement smart technology. It's for every dollar of investment, you're probably going to recoup anywhere from $5 to $7 in benefit. That's the impact, right, that we're talking with this kind of disruptive technology that we kind of lump together and call smart manufacturing or smart tech. Dawn, anything else on your side? You know, you mentioned some of the capabilities. I got to imagine that more and more clients are starting to talk to you about, especially manufacturing execution, paperless shop floor, digital manufacturing, connected devices. What are the folks at SYSPRO doing to sort of address those questions and needs?
You know, Dave, before I address this, I just want to kind of circle back on your comment about understanding what smart manufacturing is. Even prior to the pandemic, SYSPRO has saw this need and this, I don't want to say confusion, but unknown of what smart manufacturing is. And we have partnered with SESME, an organization that strives to also bring understanding and smart manufacturing to the small to medium-sized manufacturers within the United States. They're a government subsidized organization that is allowing that. So us partnering with them has just really made us look at it more. And, you know, we were constantly looking at taking advantage of the power of all of the cutting edge technology that was out there. You know, even before that pandemic, SYSPRO was committed to bringing that to the mid-market manufacturing in an affordable and powerful way. And we've developed interfaces to allow SYSPRO to communicate and give direction to machines on the production floor. In essence, all this is for smart manufacturing is how is it that we can be more efficient? How is it that we can automate things to allow for people and the employees to actually do things that we can't automate, you know, so be more efficient on that end instead of doing the multiple re-entering the same information in multiple systems. So we've really kind of looked at all of that in the way to bring all of those together. We also have developed an artificial intelligence engine that can predict quality issues utilizing, like you were saying, the sensor technology. You know, ultimately to boost productivity, enhance your product quality, ultimately reducing your cost to be able to recognize the ROI of investing in this. You know, we also are looking at, you know, making the user engagement and experience so easy to use and deploy that people actually want to come in and do their jobs. and interact with the system in a positive way. I mean, there's so much that SYSPRO has put in there, just from bringing in the execution systems and bringing in the the MOM systems and the shop floor data collection. But you also want to look at the front office part as well, and how we can really make their lives efficient with EDI and interfaces to e-commerce and things like that. We've seen so much, over the course of this pandemic, where people are looking to say, hey, everybody wants to have these self-service type portals. And the communication between these portals into your ERP system is imperative. So there's a lot of areas that, quote unquote, smart manufacturing is. It's not just on the shop floor. It's really the entire business entity and becoming automated and smart and efficient.
That's great. Yep. Kristen, I think we're running close to the end here, but I do think we have one final question, if I'm not mistaken.
We do indeed. All right. So it's a big one. So just prepare yourself. All right. So navigating change management during a technology implementation can be a big undertaking on its own. I imagine change management during these challenging times really only adds to the complexity. Dawn, what advice can you give project teams as they move forward with their tech investments?
Oh, wow, Kristen.
Do we have 3 hours, Dawn? I think we need about 3 hours just to cover this. So
exactly. Our change management, is tough at the best of times. And people, just as people, they avoid change. They avoid conflict. They're set in their ways. I mean, Dave, how often have you heard, well, it's the way we've always done it?
Absolutely.
We hear it all the time. And now with COVID, this has really impacted the workforce. We're all behind our screens. We're all sitting there in our COVID mullet, the business on top, PJs on the bottom kind of thing. And we're all feeling very isolated. I would say one of my recommendations or advice would be to get that human touch as much as possible. People are looking and craving for that camaraderie. They're craving that human touch and that human interaction. I think that's going to go a long way with change management, because you're coming together as a team, giving them the ability to help them make some decisions, not just dictating. The other thing that is so very important for change management is to completely have buy-in of all levels of management.
For sure.
I mean, I have seen way too many times implementations will fail because upper management, yeah, well, whatever you guys want to do, IT has purchased this software, no one else really had buy-in, and it just kind of fails. But to really do something that is going to benefit the entire company needs to have buy-in. And that's what's going to make this change management so easy and so flawless.
Yep. Yeah, I would totally agree. And I would just kind of illustrate, some examples and what we at Ultra try to do to really get our clients started thinking about change management much earlier in the process. Very often clients come to us knowing that they need a new technology solution, be it ERP, CRM, again, PLM, whatever it might happen to be. What we very often find, though, during that sort of sales engagement process that we take clients through, or potential clients, is that they don't kind of even have an idea of how this change in technology will impact the organization. So that's why one of our focuses, and a very important focus, in my opinion, through our entire methodology from business process assessment to guiding tech select through implementation project management is infusing those different phases with change management, because we know that this is going to be so difficult. And quite honestly, again, it really doesn't fall on the ERP vendor, for example, to really manage this, right? Dawn, as you alluded to, it has to come from within. And so part of our job, we look at it is really helping the organization and helping individuals within the organization to really address and manage change all the way through their projects.
Completely agree with you. Completely agree. It's probably one of the most important aspects of an implementation to get everybody on board with this. Completely agree.
I also agree, and thanks to you both for those great insights. So we are running a little over on time. So we won't be doing a Q&A session, but if anybody would like to send in questions, we'll make sure we reach out to you individually and we'd be happy to answer those. So, to close us out here, I'd like to share some additional resources that we've got available to our audience, and we're going to have Dawn weigh in on a couple of these. Our first one is SYSPRO. Dawn, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. So as I had spoken about a little bit earlier, SYSPRO is a government subsidized organization that is dedicated to bringing smart manufacturing to all manufacturers, not just the top level manufacturer. They have developed an amazing platform that allows multiple interfaces from machinery up into ERP systems or any other system out there. They're a great company. I am the leader of the affinity group for small to medium-sized manufacturers, and we just have a great time. We talk about what smart manufacturing is, and ultimately what it is to bring that education and bring that smart manufacturing to all of manufacturers alike, from obviously the smart manufacturing in the Johnson & Johnsons and the General Foods and so on and so forth. They have smart manufacturing, but our little mom and pop, they still can benefit from it, and that's what they're really striving for. So, I would suggest that anybody that is interested in smart manufacturing, take a look at SYSPRO and the Institute and really get involved with them because they can share, they have so much knowledge and training available. I would check it out, SYSPRO.org. Amazing organization to be a part of.
Thanks for sharing that. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And then SYSPRO, obviously, plugging SYSPRO, it's I've worked at SYSPRO for over 25 years. It is an amazing product. I've seen so many evolutions of the product, and where it's going is so very exciting. I would suggest taking a look at our thought leadership blog series. Go to syspro.com and look at all the different industry white pages and the products that are available. And if anybody should have any questions, please reach out to us. We would like to partner with you and, bring that smart manufacturing and the future of ERP into your business. It's an amazing time in software as well as in business and where we are going as an economy.
Thanks, Dawn. And just to let all of our attendees know, following the event today, look out for an email from me this afternoon. I'll send you a link to all of the resources that we've discussed, as well as a link to a recording of this session. We'd also like to share a resource from Ultra. Dave, I don't know, did you want to speak to one of our latest ebooks, Building the Business Case for Your ERP?
Yeah, literally, folks, we have hundreds and hundreds of great assets out there. This is one of the ones that I like to suggest specifically for clients that, know you have an issue. Maybe you're not in senior management, but you've been tasked with doing some of the initial investigation and ultimately might have to justify or help to justify an investment in technology. So I would just recommend taking a look at our latest ebook, Building the Business Case for Your ERP. Again, great just tips and tricks in terms of how to build that business case and then present it to the management team. So yeah, that's one of our great assets.
Thank you, Dave. And I'd like to say a thank you to both of our presenters today, Dave and Dawn. We really appreciate your insights. And thanks to all of our attendees for joining us today. We wish everyone a great rest of your day, and we will see you at the next webinar.
Thanks, Kristen and Dawn. Appreciate
Thanks, Dave, Kristen. It was a pleasure.